Hello everyone. Bonjour Lyon. As you can hear, I'm very much English, so I apologize in advance, but thank you for everyone for coming and joining along today. So my name's Daniel Lancioni. I'm our Head of International Partnerships here at Deel, and I'm going to talk to you about the power of partnerships and how it can help you scale your company. So before I kind of go into what partnerships is and how you run partnerships as a business, I wanted to talk a little about who Deel are to begin with. So Deel, we were founded in 2019 by our founders Alexandre Bouaziz and Shuai Wang. And they studied at MIT about 5 or 6 years before. And when they went back to home, one of the big things they noticed was the salaries that they were able to get outside of the US were significantly lower than in the US. A Bay Area engineer was being paid something like 10x the salary of an engineer outside of the Bay Area. And they thought it was really strange. You know, we have the same skills, the same talent, we have the same understanding, but the salary mismatch is really different. So they predicated the Deel business very much on the fact of businesses being able to hire talent anywhere in the world and being able to unlock the global workforce for businesses based in the US and across the world. In 2019, they started very much in the Y Combinator program. I'm sure a lot of you will know who Y Combinator are and what they do. And they found a lot of other businesses in the Y Combinator cohort were struggling with managing their teams, with payrolling contractors correctly and all of those types of processes. And then they built Deel to allow companies to do that at scale. And Deel's very much a big driver of the remote work and hybrid working area, and it's really propelled our growth over the years. So over the last 5 years since our inception, we've raised around $600 million of funding across lead investors like I mentioned, Y Combinator, but also Andreessen Horowitz, Spark Capital, and now as a business we have over 4,000 employees across the globe in 100 different countries. And as of, I think it was April or May this year, we announced publicly in the market that we're a 500 million annual recurring revenue business. We're EBITDA positive, which is very rare for a pre-IPO business, and we've been labeled by Forbes as one of the fastest growing software companies of all time. And one of the big levers that we've used at Deel to scale the business from 0 to 500 million has been partnerships. And partnerships at Deel comes in 3 different areas. Firstly, we look at our venture-based partnerships, so VC firms who are helping their portfolio companies scale, but also on the other side, private equity businesses that are looking to make efficiencies across their business but retain the talent in their organization. They're coming to businesses like Deel to do that. The second area of our partnership building has been around professional service firms. Think of big consulting firms, accounting firms, legal firms, businesses that are advising companies on international growth, again, recommending Deel in those instances. And then the third and final area of our partnership growth, which has helped us get to 500 million, has been around other technology vendors in our space. So other HR tech applications, other fintech applications, that work hand in glove with the Deel business. Me, myself, like I said, I'm Dan. I lead our partnerships function at Deel. I've been working in partnerships for about 15 years. The first 5 years was in the wonderful world of affiliate marketing. If any of you know what affiliate marketing is, it's the sort of sometimes the annoying links at the bottom of an Instagram post that are pushing you to buy stuff. That was my first 5 years of my career. The midway of my career, I worked for a major media agency called WPP, and I was looking after the Meta, which was Facebook at the time, Amazon and Google partnerships. And the last 5 years of my career have been very much around building big partnership functions to support B2B software companies scaling in international markets. And the central theme throughout my career, as I mentioned, has been partnerships. I've seen an oversized impact that partnerships can have on a business. With as little as 1% of a workforce being applied to partnerships, it's very easy to get double-digit revenues out of that investment. So you can get a massively oversized impact. And in my opinion, partnerships, for most businesses, it's no longer a nice-to-have. It's a must-have function. And the sooner businesses start investing it, the faster their ability to go and scale with partners is. And I think over the last 5 years, we've seen really the growth of things like product-led growth. Like Slack is a very product-led growth company, and it's brought product-led growth to the forefront. But what we believe really strongly with at Deel is ecosystem-led growth. How do I work with the ecosystems of partners around my business to scale and to grow? So first off, I wanted to talk about, what is a partnership? Because a partnership is a very broad word. It's commonly misused. I have hundreds of people that reach out to me on a monthly basis that will say, hey, I would love to form a partnership with you. And then when I dig into what they're actually asking for, they're normally asking me to buy their service or they're asking me to buy their software. That's not a partnership. That's a very one-directional type of conversation. And the exact definition of a partnership is two businesses or business partners working together towards a mutual goal that benefits both companies. So it's about how do two disparate businesses work together and drive growth together. It's not about selling to each other or anything along those lines. It's we have a common mission, a common goal, and we're going to work together to achieve that. And from speaking to a lot of people at the conference today, I know there's a lot of businesses here that are very early stage in their life journey. So they're thinking, hey, why do I even need to think about partnerships? I'm thinking about product market fit. I'm thinking about raising money. These are the big problems that I have today. But what I've seen time and time again across various organizations is if we don't think about partnerships today, it makes it really hard to build partnerships in the future. So for example, you might build your business and your data set to be really closed off. We call it a walled garden sometimes, the Facebook adage of the walled garden of data that no one can penetrate. And if early stage businesses don't think about how does my data get from my platform to other platforms, or how does data come from other platforms to my platform, unless you make your business interoperable today, it's going to limit your ability to have lovely data sharing partnerships in the future. Don't get me wrong, there is a stage where a walled garden approach to data makes sense. Facebook are large enough to warrant that type of approach. But early stage companies, it's about how do I connect to the ecosystem around me to drive mutual benefit. And then similarly, I see a lot of early stage companies will build out internal support functions and kind of very bloated services within an organization. And in the world of SaaS, like SaaS margins are 50 to 80%, but professional service margins are 10 to 20%, maybe more if you're lucky. So from a margin perspective, it doesn't make sense to put a huge amount of investment into your own professional services in the short term. And it's like, how do I look to my partner network to go and do that? So I know what I've been talking about so far is pretty theoretical in nature. So I just want to put some numbers out across the group. And the first number I wanted to talk about is 95%. So 95% is the amount of revenue that Microsoft, who when I checked this morning on my stock market app, they are still the largest company at 3 trillion market cap, bigger than NVIDIA even after all the growth. 95% of Microsoft's revenue comes through the partnerships channel. All comes through partnerships. They are a partnership-led business, and they are the largest enterprise in the entire world today. Some of you will go, okay, great, that's Microsoft. They're a business that doesn't look or feel or seem anything like me. If you think about a business like Zoom, Zoom is a product-led growth business by nature. Even Zoom, they see 40% of their revenues in some markets coming through the partner channel, from building those partnerships from a very early stage in their business. And then the third and final stat I wanted to mention is 135%, and that equates to a particular company in the Americas called Rollworks. They're an account-based marketing solution. They found that every time their clients have one integration live, they see a 135% improvement in churn. So their clients are less likely to leave their business just because they have integrations live. So not only are partnerships an incredible revenue-driving function, but they're also an incredible way to keep revenue within your organization by having the right connections to the ecosystem around you. So where I'm going to spend kind of the last 10 minutes of today's session is talking about how do you build the basics of your partner program, and how do you get started, and how do you start thinking about partnerships. And the first question I often get asked is, who should be my partners? Like, who should I work with? Who are the businesses that I can rely on to help my company grow and that we can grow in a mutually beneficial way? And I like to think about finding partners in 3 buckets. The first bucket is your network, so the people around you. The second bucket is your users, your customers, maybe your early beta users. And the third bucket is your gut, your instinct, your knowledge, your understanding of your industry. So from a network perspective, which is the first point where I'd always spend the most time, as founders in the room who I've been speaking to, you know that you get a lot more no's than you get yeses. You'll go and meet VCs, they'll say no. You'll look to position your product to people, they'll say no. But those are also opportunities for you to build partnerships as well, for you to build relationships with companies who might not be ready to invest in your company today, but they could be a wonderful referral source for your business, someone that's going to be advocating for your business in the long term. I mentioned at the start we came through the Y Combinator program. As you can imagine, Y Combinator is one of the largest sources of revenue that we get at Deel in our partner program, because all the cohorts that come through Y Combinator, they know about Deel, they've heard about us, and they come through that program, and a ton of YC companies use Deel today. But there are also VCs that invested in our competitors and didn't invest in Deel, and they still recommend us to their portfolio companies today. So every meeting that you have with a company, whether it's a VC or someone you're trying to sell to, there's always a partnership angle to be explored as well. I mentioned the second point of how to find the right partners is your users and your customers. So I used to work about 3 or 4 years ago at a company called Quantum Metric. Quantum Metric do something called session replay. So when someone comes onto an application or a mobile website, it will record what the user does from end to end. What do they click on? What do they scroll down? What links do they hit that break? All that sort of stuff. It's very UX orientated. One of our clients at Quantum Metric came to us and said, hey, I've also got this customer survey feedback technology that I'm using on the side, and a lot of my customers and users are telling me that my website's terrible. They're giving me 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10 and saying, hey, your website's terrible, your app's terrible. But the client had no idea what that meant when, without kind of looking into it. So what they would do is they would go into Quantum Metric, they'd search for the session, and they'd watch what that user was going through from start to finish, and they would find out the breakage points that consumer was facing through their journey. So they were using a completely disparate technology, a customer survey tool on the left, and they were using Quantum Metric on the right. And even though there was no integration between the two systems, they were thinking about how they could use both systems side by side. So eventually at Quantum Metric, we built an integration with that technology, and it ended up being one of our largest partnerships globally. And it was all driven by customer feedback and user adoption. And the third and final way to find the right types of partners, and this is my favorite way, is using your gut and using your instinct. So as founders, as leaders in the business, you know your business, you know your industry better than most. So it's a good thing to think about what potential partners do you think are going to fit well across your company. So I used to work about 5 years ago at a company called Braze. Braze is a marketing automation platform, and we used to whiteboard our Braze stack on a board and see, what does it look like? We had 4 layers. The first layer was data ingestion, so getting data into our platform. The second layer was what we call data segmentation. How do I split my users up into different cohorts? The third layer of the stack at Braze was personalization, so how do I send bespoke messages to each audience? And the fourth and final layer of the Braze stack was the action layer, the physical sending of messages, whether it was emails, push notifications, and other types of communications. So we would whiteboard the Braze stack on a whiteboard, and then we would think about, okay, that's our product today. What are the products that live in our ecosystem that we need to integrate with in order to maximize the Braze stack? So from a data ingestion perspective, Braze wasn't built to just handle and hold lots and lots of client data. So what we would do is we would partner with the likes of AWS, GCP, Azure, Snowflake, other big data warehouses that existed in the market, and look to pipe that data into the Braze infrastructure to get things going. And it seemed like the most obvious, hey, how do we get a ton of data? We need a ton of data partnerships in place today. The next layer of the stack, like I mentioned, was the segmentation of users. Now, Braze had some very nascent segmentation technology, but it wasn't built to do all segmentation for clients. So we would work with, there was this hot trend called customer data platforms. There's businesses like Segment that do it today. And we would integrate with those businesses and import their segments into Braze to allow clients to maximize the value of their own segmentation. We did the same thing at personalization, and we did the same thing at action. And we would just draw out all those layers, and we draw the partnerships that we felt were right around those businesses, and we would go out and build those. So from my perspective, you don't need fancy technology or a ton of investment to figure out which types of companies do I need to go and partner with today. You just need your network, who's around me that I can partner with. You just need user and customer feedback. And you just need your gut, your intuition, your idea of how and who are the right companies that I need to partner with. So you figured out kind of how to find the right partners using your network, your users, and a bit of instinct. The next thing is, like, who's going to be the person that goes and builds these partnerships? Who's going to go out to the market? And again, I've spoken to a lot of founders today, and my message has been, it's on you as founders to be the first partnerships, heads of partnerships, the first VPs of partnerships for your organization to drive that forward. Deel was born in May 2019, but we didn't make our first partnerships hire until February 2021. So there was about an 18-month period where partnerships were essentially being led by our two founders, Alex and Shuo. They were out there building the relationships, building the referral motions with businesses that we knew that could help us. So this point on who should start building the partnerships first is very, very short, but essentially it needs to be on the founders and the business leaders at the very start to take on that reign and to kickstart that partner program to start with. So we know how to find our partners. We know who should be running the partners. Spoiler alert, it's the founders to start with. And then the next thing is, like, how do I activate those partners? How do I get them interested in positioning my business? And I like to think about things in a value framework of 3 areas. So the first area is, how does my business add value to my partner's customers? Secondly, how does my business add value to my partner's business itself? And thirdly and finally, how does my business help my partner's employees? And if you can figure out those 3 areas, you're able to build what we call a really mutually beneficial partnership and scale from there. So in the first point, how do I create really good relationships with my partner's customers? So Deel is a solution which helps companies hire, manage, engage, and pay their employees. So naturally, hiring really correlates heavily with recruitment and staffing companies because they're hiring people all the time. So for us, it was a really obvious area. We need to go and invest in those types of partnerships. So we started to look at, how does the Deel business help these talent companies on their mission to hire talent? Well, we know at the moment the labor market is very tight, and it's not always easy to find the right resource across the world. So what we've been able to do is partner with recruitment companies to allow them to hire people anywhere in the world, access the global workforce, and give them a differentiator in the market, which means that their clients are able to fill positions quickly in their business, and then that means they're able to get ROI on that individual being hired quicker and faster. So the value Deel gives to our recruitment partners' customers is hire fast and hire anywhere. And it's a really big value proposition. In terms of how we add value to our partners' business themselves, again, going back to staffing companies and recruitment companies, the main way they make money today is on their fees of placing candidates in different markets. So again, if we go back to the point of Deel is helping our partners' companies hire faster, that means we're also helping our recruitment partners earn their fees quicker and kind of get to revenue quicker. We're supporting their business growth on that mutually beneficial front. And then thirdly and finally, what value are we adding to the employees of these recruitment partners as well? And similarly, those recruitment employees, they're on a fee-based structure, on a commission-based structure. So the sooner we can place candidates for our clients, the sooner the recruitment partner earns their fees, and the sooner the employee of the recruitment company earns their fees as well. So it's a real big value framework. Both the partner's customer, the partner themselves, and the partner employees, they all win in this scenario. And then fourthly and finally, that I wanted to finish on is a question I often get is, I've built my program out a little bit, it's kind of working really nicely, but how do I know when the right time is to hire my first dedicated partnerships person in the business? There's no strict rule of thumb here, but on average, someone who's experienced in the partnership space might cost anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000 per annum, something in that price range. And my strong belief is that anyone in the partnership space should be at least getting back the right return on investment for the business. So I tend to say, like, as a good rule of thumb, is you want to get to sort of $1 to $2 million of revenue of run rate, with an expectation that maybe your partnership program is doing 10 to 20% of your revenue as a business. And then at that time, it makes it ROI relevant, in my opinion, to bring on your first partnerships hire. So I think as a rule of thumb, there is no hard and fast rule. Some people hire earlier, some people hire much, much later. But $1 to $2 million of revenue is a very, very good point to be thinking about bringing my first partnerships hire into the business. Cool. So that's really what I wanted to cover today, like the four building blocks for me of building a partnership, are finding the right partners, running those partnerships yourself, and kind of scaling from there. So just to summarize some of the topics I covered today, firstly, a partnership is a relationship between two companies that are working towards a mutually beneficial goal. And as long as that's front and center of your mind, we're going to be in a good place around how we build our partnerships out. Second thing was, partnerships are proven to work time and time again. Microsoft, 95% of their revenue is through partnerships. Zoom, in some markets, 40% of their revenue is through partnerships. And there are a ton of companies out there are seeing big uplifts in retention from having partnerships in place. And then the third and final point is the four building blocks of starting a program, a partner program, moving from 0 to 1, are finding the right partners through your network, through your early users, and through kind of your instincts and understanding of the industry. It's the people that should be running the partnerships to begin with are the founders and the leaders and the starters of the business to get things going and to get the wheels moving. Then activating partnerships is all about building value for your partner's customers, your partner's business, and your partner's employees. And then fourthly and finally, and I said it's not a hard and fast rule, but look to make that first partnerships hire for your company when you sort of get to that $1 to $2 million run rate. Anyway, that's me. I've still got a bit of time to spare, but I love to give people some time back so they can go and get coffees and energize and all that sort of stuff. But I've been Daniel Lancioni. I am the Senior Director of International Partnerships at Deel. It's been great to meet everyone, and I look forward to speaking to you for the rest of the day. Thank you.